The Girlfriend is Amazon Prime Video's latest show to hit the platform, and in this 6-part series we caught two different perspectives of the same timeline as Cherry, a new girlfriend, was introduced to Daniel's mother, Laura, for the first time. In life, it's said by some that there comes a time where a son will choose his wife over his mother because of the family that he's going to go on to create, rather than the one that he was raised in, and this was a show that was based on that very thing. That thought was going through Laura's head, and she was struggling to let her son go and see him in another woman's arms, especially a woman that she didn't trust. With psychotic behavior, lies, deceit, and the ultimate price being paid for the obsessive behavior on both sides. Let's dive into this show, break down the deeper themes, and explain the ending. Here is a review of The Girlfriend and the ending explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The ending explained. When it came to the ending of this show, we saw that throughout the entirety of it, there were two different perspectives of events that were taking place. One was of Cherry's side, which painted Laura out to be a bad person, and the other was Laura's, which painted Cherry out to be the bad person. Within the first half, it was all about Laura having the upper hand and essentially ruining Cherry's life because she didn't want her to be with her son, even lying to her and saying that Daniel had died. And then the second half was all about Cherry getting that revenge and making Daniel's mother pay by ruining her reputation, her marriage, and her relationship with her son. Ultimately taking Daniel away from her because she knew that that was her biggest fear. What this show was focused on was the overbearing mother and the girlfriend that wanted to spend all of her time with the son. Two complete opposites and two individuals that would never get on because they both wanted the same thing. However, what the point of the different perspectives of their slight differences was is that it allowed us to pick a side and make us decide who the villain in the story was. In my opinion, I think the show ultimately tried to paint the mother out as the villain due to the overbearing nature and the possessive and protective ways. But right at the end, with Daniel ending up killing his mother and Cherry essentially winning, with him finding her phone and hearing the video which basically said, "God help you and your son," when it came to Cherry's mother talking about the lengths that Cherry would go to get what she wants. Maybe Cherry was actually the true villain in disguise. Cherry's past was a bit of a mystery, and we found out that she had a violent streak within her as she pushed her father from a 20-foot ledge and ruined his life, saying that she didn't regret it. Plus, it was also said that she'd take her anger out at previous boyfriends, but it wasn't really delved into that much. I feel like the show drip-fed us that information because it wanted us to view her as the victim as much as possible, right up until the ending of the show when Daniel found out the information from the video. Ultimately, what I feel like this show was getting across was that the both of the women were as psychotic and obsessed as the other. Laura was driven to the point of death at the hands of the very person that she wanted to protect because all she wanted was to keep her son to herself. And then Cherry almost died and ruined her life because she was set on getting revenge on Laura. I also felt like the ending of the final episode was a question to us on whether or not Cherry was with Daniel because she truly loved him, or if she was with him for the lifestyle that it enabled her to have. We saw a lot throughout this show how much Cherry hated the life that she came from, almost ashamed of her working class roots and the work that her mother was putting in to give her the best life possible, always chasing rich boyfriends and looking to get a taste of a lifestyle that she'd never really been a part of before. So then with Daniel, Cherry got her claws in and she was able to adopt that lifestyle until it became her own lifestyle. Being able to buy the designer clothes, sit in the fancy restaurants, and be treated like she was a queen. That was always Cherry's goal, so I wonder if it was the lifestyle that she loved or if it was actually Daniel. I'm going to say that I think it was a bit of both. Laura's feelings of abandonment and like she was losing her son was something that stemmed all the way back to when she lost Rose, her daughter, many years ago, before Daniel was even born. Her losing Daniel in a completely different way by another woman taking him, in her eyes, was something that was making her feel like she was going to be alone, and it reminded her of the grief that she suffered several decades ago. She was blinded by feeling like she was going to lose Daniel to the point where even Lilith, somebody that she was in love with, said how she'd lost all of her empathy. This was because she was just obsessed with trying to take down Cherry. There was one line of dialogue that stood out to me most in this show, and it came when Laura confronted Cherry's mother. She said, "I'm a mother. It's what we do. We protect them." This summed up the entirety of Laura's arc in the show. She tried to protect her son until the very end because she didn't like the look of Cherry, but also because she was too afraid of losing him. So ultimately, she ended up dying at the hands of her son because she couldn't let him go. Then, when it came to Cherry, I'd say the line of dialogue that summed her up most was when her mother said to her, "It's not love, it's ambition. He doesn't even know who you are." I think that line confirmed what Cherry's ultimate goal was. She was fed up with her life, desired more, and Daniel was her passageway into it. So maybe, just maybe, Laura's instinct was right about her and Daniel should have listened. A mother's instinct can often be right. My review of the show. I thought this was a pretty solid show. I think 6 episodes was the perfect amount for it. Any more and I think the formula would have got a bit tedious and the story would have dragged. At its core, I thought the concept was quite interesting. A man caught in the middle of his mother who never wanted to let him go because she lost a child once before. And also a girl that was obsessed with him and was determined to drag him away from his obsessive mother. I think the most creative thing about this show was the fact that we'd see the same events split over each half of the episode, but one from Laura's perspective and the other from Cherry's. I thought it was a really interesting approach, and the slight differences in conversations that we'd notice, or the way that the characters would react, would always favour the person that we were watching. So being left questioning which one actually happened was a thought-provoking element of the show, and it almost put us in Daniel's shoes. When it came to the performances, I thought the 3 main characters were performed really well. Laurie Davidson as Daniel just had to basically stand there and look pretty and act like a mama's boy. But Olivia Cooke switched up her personality well, and being the calm, loving girlfriend to then changing to the psychotic, dead-behind-the-eyes psychopath that wanted revenge really showed her range. It was like 2 completely different characters. Even her ability to be able to blend into the working class home and then the upper class environment. It was just really impressive to see. I'd say though that the strongest performance in this show came from Robin Wright as Daniel's mother, Laura. You could really feel that obsession that she had with her son and the overbearing nature that was there. Many times she'd even frustrate me while I was watching the show and I was wanting her downfall. I thought the overall concept for the show in having a son leaving his mother and moving on to start a new family is something that happens in life, and by having the most important woman in his life be replaced by a new important woman is something that I imagine mothers can feel. So having this extremely exaggerated version of that unfold was a story that I thought was pretty creative. When it comes to if this show's worth a watch, I think that it is. Don't get me wrong, it's not incredible, but it's creative in its execution. It's a concept that many people might be familiar with, but it's heavily stretched, and the performances from the 2 female leads is what really carries it. Plus, it's only 6 episodes. I burned through it in 2 sittings because it does leave you wanting more when the episodes finish. I'd say if you've got some time this weekend, it's worth throwing it on because it's full of drama. So, there you have it, a review of The Girlfriend and the ending explained. If you want to see more of your favourite TV series and movies being broken down, then check the playlist below. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future videos. What did you think of this show? Share your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for tuning into the video and I'll see you in the next one.